one came out, but she wasn't as articulate about it. She talked about how she, was attracted to both sexes. And I specifically had an experience where God said, God said, I judge. He told me, and you.
Christine's surprise takeover of Gwen and B's party was a total misstep, especially given how Gwen's had a tough time with her dad being so checked out. Sure, Christine's usually a favorite, but her decision to turn the celebration into a matching tattoo fest with David, not exactly the best call. Apparently, Christine and David used the occasion to get their matching tattoos. Yeah, weird choice. Which adds a layer to why Gwen kicked the cameras out and skipped Christine's wedding. As much as I like Christine, this was a serious misread on her part. Still, it seems like production played a big role in the party's chaos too, engineering a setup to ensure that Kody and Robyn would be there to accidentally meet David. It's classic show meddling, which definitely tracks with Gwen's refusal to film after she saw how production stirred the pot last year. She's hardly the first of the kids to notice the trend. Logan's choice to keep his wedding private suddenly seems like the best move of all. And what was the deal with those tattoos? Initially, it looked like they were for anyone in the family who wanted one, since Christine even asked Mary if she'd get one. But in the end, none of the other parents joined in, so maybe it's just clever editing making this look like a full-on Christine takeover. We've got so much to dive into today, so let's not waste any time. Let's jump straight into it. Hey everyone, what's up? It's Elena here, and welcome back to my channel Reality Nexus X. Did anyone else catch that Kody and Robyn left her kids out of both Tony and Mykelti's visit and Gwen's party? It's like they're the only ones not even trying to make Robyn's kids feel like part of the family. Exactly. If Robyn and Kody actually brought the kids, the original family might, welcome them, and we can't have that. Cue Robyn's signature line, "It's not a safe space for my little girls and the tenders." Of course, we also can't forget how Robyn tried to make Aspen sound cold-hearted over Thanksgiving, conveniently ignoring the fact that Aspen was upset about Kody's ridiculous rules. Makes you wonder what Robyn says when the cameras aren't rolling. In her talking head, Robyn actually had the nerve to question whether Christine should still be considered part of the family now that she's with David. Apparently, it just doesn't feel right to her, even though she admits it's not her decision to make. But let's be real, Christine has 6 kids with Kody, so she's never really going to be out of the family, no matter what Robyn thinks. What's even more ironic, it's not like Robyn's actually competing for family time here. None of the kids are clamoring to be around her, and let's not forget that she even told Mykelti she wanted no part of the rest of the family when she didn't get her way with the Christmas gift exchange. So much for being the shy, pretty wife she claims to be. This behavior is anything but subtle. Honestly, Robyn's jealousy toward Christine just keeps popping up. If you consider her obsession with holding onto Janelle and Christine as sister wives, it actually makes a weird kind of sense. Robyn's whole hope for the afterlife seems pinned on this celestial family dream, where everyone sticks together in the next life, and she gets her eternal goddess status. If Christine and Janelle walk, that dream slips away, and her so-called sacred covenant falls apart. It explains why she's clinging so hard, breadcrumbing Mary along and practically begging Janelle to make it work. Kody might be over the polygamy thing, but Robyn? She's terrified of losing her shot at the celestial planet they were promised. But the kicker? Christine is still part of the family through her relationships with the kids. The ones really separating themselves are Kody and Robyn. They're the ones who alienated everyone else, acting as if they are the family while dismissing everyone else. The real family has left them behind. They're just not ready to admit it. Did anyone else catch David's cringeworthy comment at Gwen's bridal shower? After Gwen made a face about his age, he shot back with, "Your mom didn't think I was old last night." Seriously, at her engagement party, with Christine's kids sitting right there. Bold choice, David. We get it, you two are in love, but maybe save the bedroom banter for when you don't have a front-row family audience. Granted, the whole family has a long-running habit of making awkward, smart-ass remarks. And yes, my Kelty and Tony have been known to cross a line or two. So maybe David thought he was just joining in. But when it's a joke about your own mom, not exactly what anyone wants to hear. Gwen's reaction was definitely all of us. Some say David's just trying to match the family's vibe, like when Tony dropped his famous "third date is the sex date" line. So maybe David's comment was his attempt at blending in. Still, it's a bit of a shock to see Christine and David judged so harshly when all they're doing is enjoying a second chance at happiness. Would people really prefer Christine and David play it as cold and disconnected as Kody was with his wives? The preview for next week's episode is a gut punch, honestly. Watching Isabel break down, asking if Christine's marriage to David is just replacing her dad, was heartbreaking. Despite Kody constantly putting her last, she's still holding out hope for that relationship. It's even worse knowing this was filmed over a year ago, and from what the older kids have shared, Kody still hasn't made any effort to reconnect with them. And then there's Truly, who sees Kody having the time of his life with Solomon and Ariella, while barely being a presence for her. It's infuriating. At least, these kids have positive role models like David, Hunter, and Logan around. David's presence doesn't seem like an attempt to replace Kody. He's simply there, filling a gap Kody left by choice. Kody had plenty of time to build relationships with his kids when they lived nearby, but he didn't make it a priority then, and he certainly isn't now. David, on the other hand, is fully engaged, supporting Christine, planning trips, and actually being part of the kids' lives. And when you compare Kody's aloofness to David's involvement, it's no wonder David's becoming the father figure Kody could have been, but chose not to be. It's a sad reality that Kody's relationships all seem to be conditional. He wants love, respect, and loyalty from the kids and wives on his terms, but he rarely offers the same in return. The way he dotes on Robyn's younger kids only works as long as they're compliant. Once they find their voices, they'll likely experience what the older Brown kids went through. With Kody, everything is transactional. He sets the terms, and if you don't fall in line, he's done. And honestly, the show highlights this disparity to a painful degree. There's that episode where Robyn's kids wake up to extravagant gifts, while the original Brown kids get gift cards and the basics. It's the kind of favoritism no kid should have to see. You can't help but wonder how much of his involvement with Robyn's kids is just for show. Off camera, it's likely far less idealistic than he wants the audience to believe. And with Robyn's fierce loyalty to Kody, she'd probably prioritize his rules over her own kids if they ever stepped out of line. It's tough watching the show get so personal, but maybe David's presence will bring the stability and affection these kids deserve. Christine's treatment of Mary often gets swept under the rug, but there's no denying she wasn't exactly kind to Mary over the years. Sure, people often criticize Mary for not supporting Christine after she left Kody, like when Mary made that "I'm glad Kody said it" comment in response to Kody's harsh words. But Christine wasn't exactly supportive of Mary during the catfish scandal either, which was rooted in years of neglect and mistreatment by Kody, the same kind of treatment Christine eventually experienced in Flagstaff. After the catfish incident, instead of being a friend, Christine got close to Robyn, started emphasizing her own bond with Kody, and even seemed to enjoy her new favorite wife role in Vegas. On top of that, Christine added to Mary's isolation by telling her she wasn't welcome at Maddie's birth, pretending to include her while keeping her at arm's length, and pressuring her to move to Flagstaff only to distance herself once they were there. It's no wonder Mary didn't offer much support when Christine left Kody. But honestly, this whole dynamic was pretty toxic all around. Kody set up a competitive atmosphere where all the wives were vying for his approval and attention, pitting them against each other. Janelle and Christine may have found a friendship later, but for years they were all just trying to stay on Kody's good side, sometimes at each other's expense. And while Christine and Mary's relationship is just one piece of the puzzle, the real fault lies with Kody and the environment he created, with Robyn playing right into it. He'd hurt his wives, damaged relationships with his kids, and essentially left everyone scrambling to survive in his orbit. As for Maddie's birth, the way Christine told Mary she wasn't wanted is often overstated. Maddie mainly wanted Caleb by her side, but the whole family stuck around when she didn't explicitly ask them to leave. It's a small moment, but it shows how easily tensions in the family dynamics get misinterpreted and blown up. In the end, none of the wives were perfect to each other, but the blame for this fractured family mostly falls on Kody, and Robyn isn't exactly blameless either. When Ariella accidentally hit the truck with her shovel while playing in the snow, Kody's reaction was telling. You could see him just about lose his cool, only to rein it back in, probably because the cameras were on him. But honestly, it seems like there's more going on beneath the surface here. Ariella's getting close to the age where Kody's attention usually fades. Historically, as his kids reach their preteen years and start thinking for themselves, Kody seems to lose patience and pull away. So far, Ariella's been doted on by Kody and Robyn. She's hardly been disciplined, her boundaries have been minimal, and she's even had the luxury of deciding her own bedtime. But if history repeats itself, once she begins testing him with that same sass and independence he's neglected or rejected in his older kids, he might start treating her differently too. It's as though that brief face crack was a glimpse of what his reaction might look like more openly in the future. Some people predict Ariella's going to be a bit of a wild child. She's been raised without much structure, so it wouldn't be surprising. And if she ends up questioning Kody's authority as she gets older, he may very well turn on her, just as he has with the older kids who've dared to voice opinions. Interestingly, Ariella's got a lot of Kody's personality traits, and having had his full attention growing up, she's bound to pick up on his patterns and maybe even dish it back. She might end up challenging both Kody and Robyn, and if that happens, the dynamic could get complicated. And while there's no suggestion she'll grow up to be a terror, it's not hard to imagine her being a thorn in Kody's side, maybe even treating him with the same dismissal he's shown to his older kids. As she matures, we'll see if Kody's favoritism holds up, or if she, too, will experience the disconnect her older siblings have faced. Gwen probably expected her engagement and wedding to get the same focus and respect her siblings' events received on the show. When Maddie and Aspen got married, the episodes were about celebrating their love stories without much extra drama stealing the spotlight. But by the time Gwen got engaged, the Brown family dynamics had shifted significantly, with the chaos of the 3 divorces, the 3 Ds, and Christine's new relationship with David capturing the camera's attention. Gwen may not have anticipated that her engagement party would turn into a sideshow featuring her parents' ongoing issues, Christine's relationship, and Kody's drama. It's no surprise Gwen didn't want TLC involved in her wedding. She likely hoped for a private moment to celebrate with B, free from the spotlight on her family's turmoil. Having seen her siblings' own experiences, she knew that anything filmed would inevitably focus on the family's controversies rather than her love story. And on her Patreon, she mentioned TLC actually tricked her into signing an NDA at her engagement party, sparking her anger. She hadn't wanted TLC involved with any part of her relationship with B, from the proposal to the wedding planning and everything in between. Gwen's choice not to have a coming-out episode like Leon speaks volumes. She clearly wants her personal moments to be just that, personal, not scripted and edited for drama. While her siblings had the benefit of earlier, more straightforward coverage, Gwen has learned that her parents' drama would likely take center stage, so she's chosen to keep her life private, hoping for the kind of focus on her relationship that her sisters once received. Kody's description of Robyn as shy doesn't quite hit the mark. We've seen her in countless situations where her behavior seems less like shyness and more like awkwardness fueled by anxiety. A shy person would typically warm up around people they know well, yet Robyn still holds back even in gatherings with the brown kids she's known for years. At Mykelti's party, for example, instead of joining the family openly, she hovered in the doorway, watching rather than engaging. Shy people can be reserved, but Robyn's interactions come off as uncomfortable and stilted, more about lacking social confidence than introversion. Interestingly, Robyn's daughters also tend to keep to themselves, rarely attending family gatherings. It's like they're mirroring her approach, avoiding social situations that aren't tightly structured, perhaps picking up on her hesitations. There's also a curiosity about how Robyn acts when the cameras aren't rolling. Does the constant filming bring out her most vulnerable side, making her more likely to cry and avoid others? Does she have a more playful side, or any friendships that allow her to relax and be herself? If she truly is shy, she might actually be more open in private settings. But what we usually see is Robyn in a state of emotional overload or avoidance. If the show aimed to make her more relatable, it would help to capture Robyn in a genuinely lighthearted, happy moment. Something simple, like her enjoying a casual shopping trip with a friend or sharing a silly moment, could show her personality without the emotional weight. My new perspective on Mary's legal divorce adds an insightful layer to what was a perplexing move. Initially, it did seem like Mary, who had seniority, was almost punishing Janelle and Christine by endorsing Robyn as Kody's official wife. The adoption story felt convenient, like a cover story they used to sidestep pushback. And with Mary caught up in what she thought was a new online romance, it wasn't a stretch to assume she'd quietly exit anyway, easing the transition. But after watching Mary's unwavering devotion these past few seasons, it's increasingly clear that it wasn't her idea to end the legal marriage at all. It looks much more like Kody and Robyn positioned her into it, aware of her blind loyalty and desperate hope to regain Kody's love. They knew she'd comply, especially if they spun it as for the good of the family. Mary's trust in them around property and decision-making just highlights her inability to believe they'd betray her, even though that's exactly what they did. And the catfish incident, happening after the divorce, might have been her first true glimpse at her own lack of power. In that sense, the catfishing wasn't the cause of the distance, but almost a reaction to her alienation. Afterward, with her own social standing at rock bottom and Kody's affections gone, she may have felt returning was her only path, especially given the religious expectations from her family and upbringing. The whole situation has a distinctly cult-like feel, where stepping out, even accidentally, meant intense humiliation and isolation, pushing Mary to double down on loyalty as a defense mechanism. The difference between Robyn's emotional moments and actual tears. She often chokes up, gets red-eyed, or her voice shakes, classic signs of emotion. But a single tear falling is almost like the holy grail of Robyn moments. It sounds like, after all these seasons, we might have finally gotten that elusive tear. From what you're mentioning, it likely happened during that scripted driveway disagreement this season. It's almost like the producers had to write a tear into the scene for the emotional impact, considering how long viewers have been waiting to see Robyn truly cry. She's great at the dramatic pauses and emotional buildups, but up until recently, those tears have been curiously absent. It does make you wonder if those tears are being held back intentionally, whether it's from the pressure of maintaining a certain image or because the emotional weight just never quite reaches that tipping point. Either way, Robyn's emotional performances, or lack thereof, have definitely sparked some discussion among fans. Kody's apparent lack of concern for Truly, especially when meeting David, Christine's new partner. It's striking that Kody doesn't seem to express any interest in how Truly feels about David being around, at least not on camera. While it's true that reality TV is edited, and we can't know for sure what happens off-screen, it's still hard to ignore the pattern of Kody's neglect, particularly toward Truly. The fact that Kody was more focused on competing with David for the involved grandpa role than showing genuine interest in his daughter's feelings speaks volumes. Truly has often seemed like an afterthought to him, especially when compared to his relationship with the other kids. She's been notably neglected in terms of attention and care, and that extends to the current dynamic with David. You're right to point out the stark contrast between Truly's treatment and the lavish attention Solomon gets. When it comes to reality TV, of course, we can't expect the narrative to include raw honesty about family dynamics or any uncomfortable truths. If Truly were struggling with David's presence, it would likely be edited out or downplayed, and the reality show would present a more sanitized version of the truth. What's especially frustrating for viewers is that, as you mentioned, Kody seems to forget Truly exists when it comes to major events or decisions. That incident with her being dehydrated, for example, shows how Kody was completely out of touch with his daughter's basic needs. It's painful to see how his focus has shifted primarily to Robyn's children, who receive the majority of his attention, while Truly is left to fend for herself, with barely a mention of her well-being. It's no wonder fans are so critical of Kody's parenting. He seems to care more about his image and the people who will play along with his narrative than the children who were with him from the start. Let me know what you think in the comments. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to my channel. I'll see you in the next video. Take care and much love to you all.